Welcome everyone to another new week of the CFO Swinger Watch. If you guys don't know what this video is about, it's a very quick technical analysis video on all the new names that we'll be watching for this week. Okay, so let's get right into it. So if you guys didn't read the market summary, read that first and then come back to this video. So like I said in the market summary, we'll be focusing only on the technical aspect of the markets. All the macro factors, headlines, news, whatever it is, blah, 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 right? It's all out the way. So based on the technicals and based off of that, I personally am not fully 100% convinced that the bounce is here, right? And we won't be selling off any longer, okay? Now, the reason why, right, is that first of all, we broke out prematurely out of this descending or falling wedge chart pattern, which is bullish. I mean, that's great, right? We broke out of it last week. But I would have loved it if we've still stayed inside this chart pattern, okay, as we're forming this chart pattern even more, okay? But instead, we actually broke out a little bit too early. Right, I would have liked if the price tightened up where this descending level of resistance and this descending level of support we're about to converge at that one singular point here around somewhere here. Okay, but we didn't see that, right? So unfortunately, that it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen. Now, with that in mind, the second reason why I'm not 100% convinced is that we still have a death cross. And that still is a long-term indicator that we're still headed for the downside. Okay, and we're still very much in the downtrend. We haven't recovered fully because first of all, we're not even near the price ranges of this nice ascending channel that we've been talking about for mostly all of last year. Okay, so don't get too excited. Stay cautious, like I said last Friday, which is the reason why I advise you guys to get puts, right? Hedge your long positions. And for the fact that we are now sitting at a critical level of resistance around $444.50. And also, we close right at the 200 daily SMA here, which is a heavy, heavy level of current resistance. If we're able to break above 444.50 anytime this week and we stay above it, then there's a good chance that we will be able to continue to move to the upside, completely erase our gains, and potentially head back towards the all-time high levels that we made last year. Okay, so this 444.50 level is huge. If futures decides to reject, okay, around this area, then most likely we can see a nice pullback day tomorrow, and hopefully, ideally, if you want to continue this uptrend here after this nice bounce, we want to see some type of a flag action and then another move and leg higher. Okay, I hope that makes sense, right? And if we're able to move another leg higher, the next major area that you guys need to be watching out for is around 456, okay, to around 458.50-ish. All right, and if you guys forgot, let me actually move this level up here. Okay, around 458 was where we actually saw that big double top action here, right? And this chart pattern eventually broke the price down and we went lower and lower and lower within a matter of a few trading days here. So all we know now is that around 458 is a huge level that we need to be looking out for because sellers are most likely gonna stay there and sit there and continue to push the price lower if we get there, obviously, right? So that's the next big SPY target level for me. Okay, QQQ. So QQQ, I'm also not thoroughly convinced just yet, right? Now, obviously, we had a nice breakout as well on QQQ, okay? And we also made a higher high compared to the last high that we made on March 3rd, which was 350.04. And on Friday's high, we ended up and closed near 351.79. So this is a higher high, right? But the thing is, in order for us to actually be convinced that the whole tech sector is ready to move higher, which is actually a little bit weird as well, because we're looking at multiple interest rate hikes in just 1 year, right? Which is bad for growth companies and the overall tech sector. And we talked about it multiple times last year, right? So for QQQ, all right, in order for us to see an actual confirmed uptrend, okay, and a recovery back to the upside, I want to see another small pullback and another bounce around 341.50-ish to around 342. Okay, and then make a higher low from that point forward. Okay, that'll be our second higher low. And where is our first low? Well, right here, right? So visually, right, this right here is our first low, and somewhere around here where I would prefer to be, here or here actually. Okay, so 341-ish to 342 to around 335-ish. Okay, those could be your two contenders for the next higher low. Okay, and now we have our first higher high right here. Okay, and the reason why this is not our higher high, well, because it's not our first higher high, right? This is our first higher high compared to the previous high that we made. Okay, so like I said, same thing with SPY. In order for us to continue to the upside, I want us to flag here. Okay, preferably around 341 to around 342 as support. But if we decide to pull back even more, I would want us to hold 335. And if we don't hold 335, we are screwed, because there's a good chance that we will most likely start heading lower again. And this higher high will be another failure. All right. Now, you guys have to remember, okay, with that in mind, with all of those price levels in mind, guess what? We're still in a macro head and shoulders pattern, right? The only reason why we got a nice big move out the equity in the overall equity markets is that the tech sector decided to show a lot of strength. And remember, the tech sector was the one that was very, very weak. Okay, and that's what was leading the markets lower during this whole downtrend movement from January to February. Right now, with all that in mind, with SPY and QQQ, overall, I am short-term bullish on an oversold bounce. That's it, right? All I want to see is a confirmed 100% positive uptrend, okay? And in order to see that 100% probability that we can see a nice March bottom is if we can maintain this uptrend that we started last week by consolidating and then moving another leg higher, okay? Because if we decide to move up and up and up and up and up continuously, that's going to be very unhealthy, especially when we're still in a downtrend. Now, if you guys remember, okay, let's go back to SPY here. If you guys remember back in October to November, we had this very big run up, right? And so you might be scratching your head saying, hey, wait a second, Azure, isn't this unhealthy then as well? No, because we're already in an uptrend, right? In an overall uptrend. But now, since we've broken multiple major moving averages here, like the 50 and 200, and we've also broken multiple support levels, and we're also in a downtrend, okay? Because of all those three factors, if we have a multiple day run like this, okay, that'll be very unhealthy, right? And there's a higher probability that we get a big, big red day to the downside, all right? So I also want to kind of, before we move to our major names that we need to look out for this week, I want to point out that we have lower volume as well, okay? And we also had lower volume during this insane run to all-time highs back in October to November of 2021. All right, so we continue to move higher, but look at this. The volume just completely died off. So there could be a literally no volume melts up, okay? But the fact is, if we have a no volume melt up, you're increasing, the market is increasing its chances of failing that melt up and completely erasing those gains, all right? And volatility will come back if that happens. So make sure you guys are remembering that for the overall markets. Okay, so that's it. Let's take a look at our names. So DLTR, I have to watch out for this name, right? This is just incredible, incredible price action. So if you take a look at the weekly time frame, right, we're still holding in a nice uptrend and on the weekly time frame, we've ended on a very bullish candlestick. I mean, if you take a look at this one, and then this one, and then this one, right? They all look similar, right? And after we've had such bullish weekly candlesticks, guess what happened next, right? We had another big run up, right? So I expect us this week to continue to the upside and make new all-time highs because, like I said, big money institutions are still being very defensive. Right? I'm pretty sure they're also not convinced of this big bounce that we had last week. So they're playing it safe. And DLTR is a safe name. Now, the only thing that worries me is that we're still seeing, okay, a potential rejection from all-time highs, right? Because one or two things can happen. One, we continue to all-time highs, or we have a very, very nasty rejection from all-time highs. We haven't seen that yet. Okay, we've only seen the first scenario here, okay? And also, in this first scenario, we have broken and negated this ascending wedge here, which is a bearish chart pattern. And instead of breaking to the downside, we've actually broken to the upside, completely negating this bearish chart pattern. And we also broke into the upside with good volume. So this is very, very interesting. So as we continue to make higher highs and higher lows, there's a good chance that we will see a nice big movement to the upside this week if we can contain and maintain a bullish volume. Okay, that's literally it, right? So there's a great breakout. All of my major SMAs, the 10, 21, and the 50 here, right? After really coiling around here with each other, they're now expanding, right? So if you guys can see this, right? They compressed and then they're now expanding to the upside, right? They're coiling and then now they've been released, right? So this is very, very bullish action that you will always want to see in an uptrend. Now, let's talk about LAC. All right, LAC is very interesting as well. So LAC has had a 1,000+% run since 2020. Okay, this huge run. Now, this kind of looks like Tesla as well. Now, right now, as we continue to move up higher, we continue to make bullish chart patterns, right? We had a nice pullback here. We moved up another leg higher, nice pullback, and then a nice base formation, and then a nice big breakout again, a little tiny flag formation, and a nice big breakout again. And currently, we're in that secondary stage again, where we're pulling back, consolidating, and now forming a nice base. So if we're able to maintain the same pattern again, and for the fact that LSE has been so strong throughout this market turbulence, right? I mean, it didn't really break to the downside hard at all. And for the fact that it's still staying within its price range and base, right? And respecting its respective intraday and daily and whatever time frame price levels and resistances and support levels, okay, is staying very, very strong overall. So if we want to see a nice breakout, we need to break above this descending level of resistance. So around $29 is where we can see a nice big breakout. And earnings are also out of the way, right? So we've made a nice base support at $24. And okay, we are now resting near this 200 SMA. And for the fact that these major SMAs, 50, 21, and 10, they're all coiling together, there's a good chance that they can support the movement higher, and eventually they will expand and uncoil, just like I showed you with the LTR. And eventually, hopefully, we can see a nice retest of the previous highs and eventually make new all-time highs above 41.56. Okay. And our third name here is Macy's. Yes, so this Macy's is making a comeback. So Macy's and the overall kind of the retail sector has been pretty strong. They haven't been affected very much of the market turbulence at all. Sure, Macy's did break below this huge base that we are now we've reformed for the past few months here since last year, but it actually came back and bounced back pretty strongly. And for the fact that we've actually stayed above the 200 SMA shows a lot of strength, right? And all of last week, okay, Macy's continued to move upwards with really good strength. And now it's right back to that previous level of resistance around $28. So, this is showing extreme good strength, right? Really, really good strength. And also for the fact that we are now coming back to this resistance, like the fourth and the fifth time here, shows us how much the price really wants to break above $28 and eventually head to the next major level of resistance, which is around $30. Okay, and hopefully we can get back to around 31.50. All right, so continue to watch out for Macy's and set your alerts around $28. There's a good chance that we can consolidate underneath 28. So there's a higher chance that and a higher probability that we can eventually break above $28. Okay, and that'll be our ideal situation to have the price consolidate underneath $28 instead of getting rejected immediately like we saw on after earnings here, right? On this candlestick right here on February 22nd. Okay, our last name here is CSX. The only reason why I'm looking at this name is that it's so strong, right? It's an RSS. And for the fact that we actually broke above 35 again, I mentioned this last week, if you break above 35 again, this name is showing strength, right? Because of the fact that 2 weeks ago, we had that really volatile breakout. Okay, it was clean, but way too unhealthy of a move, right? And we came crashing back down. And then last week, it decided to break above 35 again, which is amazing. And it shows amazing strength in its name. Now, the only thing is we did end up right at a very critical level of resistance around $36. So I wouldn't be surprised this week if we reject, okay, and then bounce somewhere around 35.50, which is my ideal support level to bounce off of. But if we don't, we might actually come back down to 35 again and then bounce for a nice confirmation that, yes, the price is going to want to move away from 35, which is a previous level of resistance. And now we're looking to use that new support and then continue head up higher. All right. So very, very simple name here to watch out for. Very cheap name, right? Because of the fact that it had a stock split. I explained this in the fundamental analysis, so make sure you guys read that again. But if we're able to break above 36, and it seems like we're starting to form some type of tiny flag here. Okay, if you take a look at the 2-hour time frame, right? A nice little flag, right? So if we're able to break above 36 this week, there's a good chance that we can revisit 37.20-ish. Okay. All right, so that's it for the equity picks for this week. Let's take a look at my cryptocurrency pick, ADA, Cardano, right? You guys know how much I love Cardano because I've had this cryptocurrency coin on my watch list multiple times last year. So Cardano is at a very, very critical area of support. And where is that? Well, around 0.75 to around 0.79-ish, or around 0.80 if you guys want to round. And this is the line in the sand here, right here, this line. If we break this, there's a good chance that ADA has a huge sell-off because all the people that bought here back in early 2021 will have to sell. They'll be panic selling here, right? They're not going to be back holding anymore. So all the sellers will come out, which will make the price plunge right back down to 2021 levels around 0.20 cents to about 0.40 cents. Okay, but thanks to the overall equity markets bouncing higher, cryptocurrencies also bounced higher, and we're able to hold above 0.80, and eventually now we're potentially seeing a potential reversal, right? So what more can I say here? Okay, so if we're able to break above last week's highs here, which is around 0.90 to 0.91-ish, right? There's a good chance that we can eventually break back to $1. And if you're able to break above $1 here, okay, we can reverse all the way back to 1.64-ish, right? That's my next big price target for Cardano if we're able to break above $1, right? And remember, I'm holding these coins for the long term, the next 5 to 10 years. So I'm not afraid to add even more down here, which I will once we break above 0.90. Okay, that is it for this week. Take a look at the technical setups in the newsletter. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your time. And if you guys aren't subscribed to the CFO channel here, make sure you guys are subscribed, like this video, and comment down below what else you guys are watching for this new week. All right, have a great rest of your night and good luck trading this week.